The Buddha's fearlessness is another quality that he illustrated. In one story, his cousin Devadatta, very ambitious man, and he had achieved supernatural powers. He thought that he was qualified to lead the Sangha. And the Buddha at this point was kind of old. And Devadatta says, Lord, why don't you retire? I'll take over the Sangha for you, so you don't have to worry about it. The Buddha rejected and said, I would never, under any circumstance, to turn over the Sangha to you. Publicly, he was very embarrassed. He felt offended. So he resolved to take the Buddha's life. One time, he conspired with Ajatatsu, a very wicked king. And they bribed the king's elephant trainer to release a mad elephant in the Buddha's path. The elephant was running towards the Buddha, and the Buddha was able to subside the elephant. Some scriptures says that the Buddha uses supernatural power to subdue the elephant. So that was a failure on Devadatta's part, trying to kill the Buddha. Another time he climbed up to the vulture's peak with a big boulder, big rock. He knew that the Buddha would often take that path. So as he saw the Buddha coming, he pushed down this boulder, and the boulder was bouncing on the hill there, but luckily it missed, and only a small splinter of rock hit the Buddha's foot. So it missed. So he missed again to kill the Buddha. So his disciples, knowing this, they were alarmed for the Buddha's safety. So they formed a sort of bodyguard, armed themselves with sticks to protect the Buddha. So during the night, the Buddha came out of the vihara, Jingse, Densa. And the Buddha came out and said, monks, what is this? What are you doing hanging around my monastery with sticks? He said, Lord, don't worry. We are here to protect you and to ensure that you are safe. The Buddha says, the Buddha needs no protection. Now go away, go to your dwellings. So they all melted away into the night. So the Buddha was courageous. And then another story was about Angulimala, like the serial killer. He was the terror of the countryside. Everybody ran away from him. He killed people and took their fingers and stringed them into a necklace. So everybody was afraid of this serial killer. But the Buddha was very compassionate to show up in the face of this killer to try to help him. Right? So it shows that the Buddha was very courageous. Even though it's impossible to kill the Buddha, but that does not take away from the Buddha's personal courage. His fearlessness, which is one of the outstanding qualities, helped him to keep him safe from harm. Another quality of the Buddha was his stillness. There was a story about how King Ajatatsu, he and his personal physician, Jivaka, who later on became Buddhist doctors as well. One night, they decided to go visit the Buddha. So he and 500 of his men and ladies on elephants marching towards the monastery of the Buddha in the forest to visit the Buddha in the deep forest. And while they were walking, they couldn't hear anybody except for the elephants walking. Ajatatsu, he was afraid that somebody had set him up because they were supposed to meet the Buddha with 2,500 disciples. You imagine a group of 2,500 people and you don't hear anything. Where am I going? Is this a setup? The king was thinking. But Jivaka says, don't worry, Your Majesty, there's no trap. I'm taking you to the Buddha. But he was still not convinced. He said, we should be hearing somebody miles away, right? I mean, you have 2,000 people living together. How come I'm not hearing any sound? When they kept moving towards the Buddhas, the monasteries, then they saw some light in front. And then that's when he realized that Buddhas with 2,500 disciples sitting in meditation, perfectly silent, perfect harmony. Imagine that.